Hi, I'm Elise Glennon with New Jersey Sharing Network. The Transplant Games of America are coming to New Jersey in the summer of 2020, and we encourage you to learn more about organ and tissue donation. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the North Ward Center, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, the New Jersey Education Association, and by Wells Fargo. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
You can hear, I can feel the energy as well here on the campus of NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. This is the second annual Voice Summit that is sponsored by Amazon Alexa. So much going on here, so much in the voice area of voice technology, and one guy who's going to help break this down is Simon Nynens, who is Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer here at NJIT. How you doing, Simon?
Oh, good. Thank you for having me.
It's a big deal.
Absolutely, yes.
Why?
A lot of people now exposed to Newark and NJIT. We've grown tremendously from just being a public university to now also help companies start and really grow as a company and build that partnership with a university.
Simon, there's something called VentureLink.
Yes.
What is it?
That is NJIT's business incubation center. So we have about 110,000 square feet, 65 companies that are being incubated right here, as well as larger.
Define incubated.
So what that means is you have an idea, and not only students of NJIT or faculty. There's a young lady here who had an idea for hair products for women of color. She comes into the center and says, how do I start a company?
Yeah.
What do I do with an LLC? What is an LLC? What is a P&L? How should I price my product? Those kind of issues, real life issues, that's what we help them with.
It's interesting. So many of the folks here at the Voice Summit too, they're smart about technology, they're innovators, they're creative, but I hate to call it the nuts and bolts of business. Yeah. Sometimes they may not know those skills.
Correct. Yeah, and it's a little bit like you're good in golf and you're there, but you still need a business manager. You're not good in tennis, or you're not. Everybody has a certain skill, and together is better than alone. And what we want to do is get these entrepreneurs together and say, I have a question about what lawyer to use, who is good, who's not good. Learn from each other. That's what we're trying to do by building a community.
And you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't manage the business side of that well,
absolutely.
I mean, we know that in public broadcasting. You can have the greatest producers, which we do, the greatest technology team, which we do. You don't run the business well,
correct.
You're out of business.
Absolutely. And then there's the part of managing. Now you're very good at technical manager, but then you start to manage people, and we have a lot of engineers.
Hold on, is managing people more difficult than managing technology? You don't want to go there. But it's challenge. That's a big challenge.
Correct. So the soft skills. People are not machines. You can't just say, do this, and it works like a computer.
How to coach people, how to mentor people, how to give them feedback.
Correct.
Not easy.
So we're trying to build a community and say, learn from each other, pitch ideas. Now you pitch, I'm listening to you. What are you doing well? What is it something I can learn from them? That's what we're trying to do, build a community.
Now you're giving a talk called How to Fail Less.
Yes.
I got to tell you, just the title itself, I'm thinking, what? Fail less? Why isn't it called How to Win More?
No.
What's the difference?
Okay, so how to fail less, where are you going to learn from? And you and I both know that being a little bit older is you learn most from your failures. So how to fail less? By failing a lot and not beating yourself up over it, but really trying to take it as a learning moment. A lot of people go through life as a rider is galloping on a horse on fast speed through a town. And all the people from the town are starting to look at this rider and say, where are you going? And the rider says, I don't know, ask the horse.
Hold on, is that a metaphor for voice technology? Or is it for entrepreneurs?
No, it's for people ruining the future sometimes, running from the past. You are so fast going somewhere, but you're really not sure where you're going. Be a stable ship on the ocean. Know your goal and then work diligently towards that. That is how to fail less, by knowing what your goals are. If your goals are, for instance, at the voice technology, you want to connect people. Is it, as a company, I tell leaders all the time, the definition of a company, by the way, that means compan, with bread. That means
say that again?
With bread, compan. Pan means bread, com with. The people you break bread with.
Got it.
When I talk to certain CEOs, I tell them leadership is not about you, it's removing hurdles for the team who works for you. What is the definition of a company? That is people and machines working together to achieve a profit. Good. In that definition, does it say anywhere that people have to start at 8:30 and if they leave before 5 o'clock, we're going to make them stay an extra hour?
Punch that clock.
No.
In this day and age.
It doesn't work.
Okay, I have this whole obsession, and I'm glad we're onto this topic. Because here are a couple things about leadership. Number one, I've taught leadership here at NJIT. They are one of our longtime higher ed partners. And this issue is one that I talk about with your president all the time, Dr. Bloom, Joel Bloom. Leadership, particularly at the Voice Summit, particularly for people in technology, do you think that most of the folks who are going into this field have the skills and tools and the tenacity to be a leader and make tough decisions that make people angry sometimes, because your job is not to be the most popular person in the company, as you described before? It's a loaded question, I know, but it feels like, I don't want to answer the question, but there's so much emphasis on tech.
Yes.
This other side, they got to learn it by making mistakes, but being open to the feedback.
And that goes for students too. So one thing I'm really pressing for at the university is to have 2 courses here. One is entrepreneurship, and the second one is leadership.
Entrepreneurship as a course?
As a course, required course for the students to come in.
Okay, and the other one is?
And the other one is leadership. Now, we all know we constantly bombarded by the TV, every news, every day we get who are bad leaders. I get that. Who's a good leader? Where is our example? Who's the best violinist in New Jersey? What is the best, most promising student in New Jersey? Who's the best business person in New Jersey? Who's struggled through all kinds of adversities and has made it?
And what can we learn from them? That's what I want to focus on.
What can you learn from that? Exactly, that's what we want to do. So those 2 courses I think are extremely important, because here's what happens a lot. I have 3 friends, we start a company. Everybody gets 1/3 of the company. And we're now, who's in charge? Oh, all 3 of us are.
How about when people say, when I always ask the question of our team or in other situations, when I do executive coaching around leadership, I'll say, I'm sorry it's a sports reference, I'll say, who's the quarterback of this project? Right. You know what they say? We have a few of them.
Yeah.
If you have a few, I don't know if we're on the same page, we've never talked about this before.
Work?
If there are 3 quarterbacks or 2, and several people are responsible, you say,
have you ever had the question where you went to mom and you said, can I have a cookie? And then you went to dad and said, who's in charge?
One leader.
One leader.
Even in the high-tech world?
One CEO. So listen, if you were not a good technologist, if you're not good in voice technology, you're not going to rise to the top. When you rise to the top, behavior becomes a much more important component of your job. And there are 3 things, 30 years of leadership skills, and now I work at the university. I love research. Number 1 is always, are you honest? But number 2 is, are you competent? Because it's nice to be honest, but you got to know what you're talking about.
Right.
And number 3 is, are you inspiring? And those 3 skills, and you can do management studies over and over again, that's what I'm trying to teach the young entrepreneurs.
Simon, you have given us a lesson on management, leadership, entrepreneurism, technology, the Voice Summit. You've done a lot in just a very short period of time. I want to thank you. Wish you and your colleagues all the best here at the university.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're right back right after this.
To watch more Think Tank with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Welcome to the Voice Summit. We're coming to you from the campus of NJIT in beautiful Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. This is the Voice Summit number 2. This is the biggest voice summit in the world. No, I'm not exaggerating. It's not hyperbole. It's true. And one of the guests that's joining us to break a lot of what's going on here down is Cathy Pearl, head of conversation design outreach at a little company called Google, and author of the book Designing Voice User Interfaces. How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Because
because this is the world's biggest voice summit, and so much of it is about seeing people maybe I've met online or talking to people who are doing interesting things in the field, really getting that energy of how people are applying this technology to the future.
Google cares because of?
Well, you know, our mission statement is about making the world's information accessible to everyone, and voice is one channel for making that happen.
You know, we were talking right before we got on the air, and the whole question of people that have certain challenges, impairments, and you, at one point you said that we all have impairments at some point, but the question of making voice technology more inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, to me, voice, first of all, is really great for people who really need it the most, which could be people who have visual impairments, motor impairments, cognitive impairments. But I don't want us to think of that as like just designing for certain groups of people with certain things. It's really about inclusive design, which is about all of us, because all of us have impairments, situational impairments from time to time, whether it's because I'm walking inside carrying groceries and I can't use my hands briefly. I don't have my reading glasses and I want to see the text message on my phone. Or what if I fall and break my arm or have a stroke? This is really about designing for everyone.
But how do you design for everyone? And are there those in the voice arena who don't design for everyone and design for a, frankly, more niche market that they feel may be more profitable?
Well, I mean, it's certainly not simple to design for as many people as you possibly can.
If it was simple, everybody would do it.
Yeah, it takes
right?
more time, more planning, more testing, and you just have to, really broaden your user base. But to me, it's just something to strive for, because what could be better than enabling everyone to take advantage of this technology?
You know, this Voice Summit being here in Newark and at NJIT, we've said it many times, it's a big deal for the city, for this university, for the state of New Jersey. Your experience in this field, did you have a sense of Newark and a sense of New Jersey in the voice arena before you started coming here?
Last year was really kind of the main time when I really...
The Voice Summit was here as well last year.
It was here last year.
But this is different, bigger, broader, more expansive?
This one's bigger,
Yeah.
But even last year was pretty big, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of the stuff that's going on in Newark that I certainly wasn't aware of before, and this one even more so.
Your book, Designing Voice User Interfaces, why did you write it? It came out in 2016?
End of 2016.
What's the main message?
The main message is really, I wanted it to be a practical how-to guide, because so many people now are trying their hand at building these voice user interfaces, and it's not simple. You really have to spend time on not just coding and marketing, but design. And so for me...
Define design. Because there are a lot of people watching right now, listening right now, if you're on the audio side, like, oh yeah, design. I actually don't know exactly what it means. I know what the end product looks like or doesn't look like in terms of how easy it is to use or how accessible it is. But what is design?
Design is really taking into account, in this case, how people are going to want to interact and what they're going to say and in what order they're going to say it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're booking a table at a restaurant and the voice assistant asks you, well, how many people are in your party? Now, you're expecting a number, right? You think it's pretty straightforward. But somebody might say, well, do you have any outdoor seating? Which is a perfectly legitimate question. But a lot of people don't consider it who are building these systems, and then whoops, you've got an error, your user is frustrated, they failed to accomplish what they want. So that's the kind of thing we think about when we're designing, how are people actually going to speak?
Let me give you a real life example. Tell me if I'm off base. I'm calling a particular pharmacy who will remain nameless because it wasn't a great voice experience. They literally announced, we've recently changed our whatever the heck they called it.
Our menu options have changed.
Thank you, so you know the message.
I used to work on those.
So here's the thing. I did have a question I didn't want to have another prescription. I wanted to ask a certain question. I got pressed pretty hard as to the nature of the question before I even got to someone, because once I just said I wanted to talk to a pharmacist, I was in a loop that felt like I couldn't get out of. Am I making too much of that?
No, that's one thing that's frustrating for so many people. That is not good design. That's the kind of...
That's design, though. A form of design.
It's a form of design which is putting business needs before user experience.
It's not about me, it's about them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good design would allow you to get what you needed, which sometimes is automated and sometimes it's through a person, and we want you to get what you want, not force you down a particular path.
So the idea that someone watching, someone following the Voice Summit, the voice technology field, reading about it, wanting to know more about it, wanting to go into it, thinks, he's just, okay, so we're talking about replacing human communication because it's easier and faster. You don't buy that.
Not at all. Because again, there's some things I want to do on my own, on my phone or with my voice, and I don't want to talk to a person. But then there are key times when I have a specific problem that I really do want to talk to a person. Much more nuance, yes, exactly.
Is it harder to write programming for a nuanced issue or question?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about something like an app or a website. When somebody presses a button or swipes, you know what they did. You know what they selected. But if you ask them a question like, you know, even a yes/no question, like, do you like cheese? They're not just going to say yes or no. They're going to say, sure, I do, or heck no, except cheddar, or something like that.
But aren't there different kinds of cheese? I'm not going to make it about food or going to the pharmacy. But there are more precise questions we need to get to, because it isn't just whether you like cheese.
Right. You have very specific questions, and we need to get better at allowing someone to actually express themselves in a natural way. That's the beauty of conversation design, if done right, is that it allows somebody to just speak the way they would naturally and not have to think about it and still be able to satisfy what they need.
By the way, if you're just checking out this conversation with Cathy Pearl, who is with Google, let me ask you this. Final question. The future of voice in the next 5 to 10 years. And by the way, are those the right numbers to ask about, 5 to 10 years? Is that too far out?
I think, you know, it doesn't matter how many years, nobody really knows the future.
Really?
So lots of people will give you answers, but nobody really knows. Personally, my answer to that is that it will become more common. You'll find it more places in your life. I think also my optimistic view is that it will replace some of our screen time, because you can just dip in and get what you want and not have to get sucked into scrolling through your social media or checking your email, because you just got the thing you wanted and you got out again, and it allows us to look up from our phones and actually look at each other.
I don't know about you, but I just learned, I think I do know, you learned a lot, because I did as well, from Cathy Pearl, head of conversation design outreach at Google and author of the book, Designing Voice User Interfaces. Cathy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm Steve Adubato. This is the Voice Summit #2 at NJIT, coming to you from Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. We'll be right back right after this.
To watch more Think Tank with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Welcome to the Voice Summit, coming to you from NJIT. This is Newark, New Jersey. This is the largest voice technology summit in the world, and one of the issues we're examining here is the relationship, the connection between what's going on in the voice summit world and the law. A whole bunch of issues around privacy, confidentiality, and a gentleman I'm about to introduce you to knows them well, deals with them every day. He's Frank Cannone, Chair, Corporate Department at Gibbons P.C., a law firm based right here in Newark.
Correct.
And to disclose, a longtime supporter of what we've been doing in public broadcasting at the Caucus Educational Corporation. So Frank, we were talking about this right before we got on the air. Gibbons is involved in this Voice Summit because?
Oh, for a number of different reasons. One, we're headquartered in Newark, but as from a business perspective, and I'm chair of the corporate department, it's always been critical for us to look at industries and see where we service that industry best. And the Voice Summit coming here last year, of which we were a part of, its first year, we saw the potential. We saw the potential from a business perspective and also for the city of Newark and for the industry. And that's why we're part of it.
Frank's about to do a panel, to be a series of panel discussions right after this. They really revolve around the question of voice technology and privacy, confidentiality. Let's break this down. Is the law, keeping up with the technology around voice, meaning, oh, laws are being changed every day because technology is moving so quickly, we know how to protect people, their financial information, personal, we're good, right?
Well, you know, see, that's the challenge, right? If you go back in time, when was the first stop sign in America put up for the automobile industry? 1910, right? Decades after the automobile was created, right? Decades, first stop sign. And you know what? That's because regulations and rules need to take a while to develop and to deal with the needs of the technology. Here in tech, it's even more accelerated because it becomes disruptive and it changes so quickly.
Define disruptive.
Disruptive, depending on what the industry is, right? And it could from Ubers to Airbnb, but it's more than that. So from a legal perspective, right, data protection, privacy, constitutional law issues, criminality.
Hold on, what do you have to do with constitutional law?
Well, it depends how you're communicating with the device and whether or not there's a reasonable expectation of privacy that's going to be expected. Well, you're sitting there talking to your Echo device in your living room, and it may or may not be listening to you. Is there an expectation that that was going to be held confidentially without the government or some other third party accessing it? That's important. And that's part of the evolution. And what happens is regulators and lawmakers and legislators, their view in life is different. They're trying to stop a catastrophe. They're trying to stop something, whereas the entrepreneur, the business person is moving their business forward. And there's a gap there. By the time the legislators can deal with a problem.
Or the regulators and government agencies.
Correct, can deal with a problem. Here, at least in tech, you may be on to the next wave of evolution of that technology. I mean, where was voice just a handful of years ago? It's pretty amazing, right?
Compared to where it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how did we start out, right? We started out communicating with our computer by using a keyboard, right? And then all of a sudden it went to the phone. We used our fingers. And now we're going to be speaking to the device. And, we could have had regulations years ago as it worked its way through the process.
Should it have happened?
Well, it depends.
Do you think that folks in Washington who are in Congress, folks who are in regulatory agencies, because this is not unless I'm wrong, this is not a state-by-state issue. Yeah, we're in New Jersey, we're in Newark. Mm-hmm. But it's not New Jersey's going to have laws. California's going to have laws.
Illinois, Massachusetts,
That's
right?
crazy.
Well, that's just part of the evolution of it. So Europe, right, with GDPR, unified its 28 members or countries to have a data protection rule.
Hold on, back up. You went through that quickly. There was a consortium created of European countries.
Correct.
To do what?
To deal with who owns the content of your personal information. So from your driver's license to information about your social security number to your likes and dislikes when you go and communicate with an organization, that information, right, in theory belongs to you. But what ends up happening is companies had access to it, and they were using it for business purposes. It's what happened. As a matter of fact,
hold on. We're talking. By the way, we're doing this in the heat of the summer of 2019. It'll be aired in the fall. Did Facebook, as they were trying to figure out, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's get more people using Facebook, let's expand the technology. Do you think they were sitting there pondering the question, Sheryl Sandberg and the CEO? Help me on this.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing, whether they knew it or not.
Oh, Mark the Zuckerberg guy. Yeah, no, we're not holding a fundraiser for him, trust me. So you think they're sitting there going, hey, wait a minute. Let's really think through the privacy questions. Let's think through the legal issues. Let's really protect people's confidentiality. Clearly, it's not an editorial statement. That's why there are hearings before Congress. We can have the same thing with voice?
I will tell you right now, the beauty of this and this conversation today in the Wall Street Journal, the FTC and Facebook came to a settlement.
Hold on, the Federal Trade Commission
and Facebook.
As we tape today?
It was in the paper today, so it happened probably yesterday.
Go ahead.
With respect to a fine that was levied on Facebook for $5 billion.
$5 billion with a B?
With a B. And the reason for that was the fact how they managed the information that was given to them from private information, data.
So what's the lesson for the voice technology community based on that $5 billion fine?
Well, first of all, the FTC really doesn't have, the beauty of this is the FTC really doesn't have authority over Facebook. But what they did was, they could possibly get them with authority, but they came to a settlement to resolve the issue. Then you say, $5 billion, does that stop someone like Facebook? Now they understand it going forward, because I think it was the Cambridge Analytics issue that created this firestorm. Yes. And so now they've at least they've dealt with their problem.
What about voice? Okay, in this conference, the fact that you and your colleagues, from a legal point of view, from a constitutional point of view, from a privacy and confidentiality point of view, I'm impressed that you're even here doing this. Because what they could have said was, let's leave those folks out of here, because all they're going to do is raise complicated issues, and we want to innovate, we want to grow, get out of our way. But that wouldn't have been strategic.
No, it wouldn't. And Google and others have spoken about it. Bill Gates and others have talked about we need to self-regulate ourselves, or at least address it.
Self-regulate?
Well, or at least address the concerns with data privacy, dealing with security, and dealing with the other issues of communicating information and dealing with that information, not only from a regulatory standpoint, but even from nefarious individuals that were going to use that data against. So, for example, you've got your home security system now works by voice activated, right? And if somebody wanted to breach it and they stand outside and say, hey, open up all the doors. Oh my goodness.
But that's my voice. Hold on, I hate to do this.
Yeah.
We have that.
Yeah.
But don't they know my voice, my wife's voice?
Well, if somebody has eavesdropped onto the technology and somehow has cloned it, it's something you need to be concerned with. Again, it goes to the evolution of what I mentioned before about that stop sign in 1910, right? It takes a while. You look at today, the automobile industry, from safety, the driver ed, to all the items that are out there to make sure that we protect the person and the consumer. You know, it's unprecedented.
This is not just for those who are involved in voice technology. Frank, this is for all of us who not only use technology, but are impacted by it.
Correct. And I would say even from all of it, as a corporate lawyer and the head of our corporate department, it's a critical part of our economy. And having these ideas and innovations go into the marketplace, it's fundamental that they be capitalized properly. And we as an organization, we've got a leading corporate department and a leading IP department. And together we have scientists. We have
intellectual property is IP?
Is
right.
IP. And so you have intellectual property aspects to all of this. And we within our team, I mean, on the IP department, which is a leader within the space, where we're able to help for scientists and technicians and engineers, that fits in very well from the corporate side. And the corporate side sits there and says, okay, how do I finance this? How do I protect myself from liability? How do I ensure I'm compliant with the laws, but also allows me to raise money?
Without having a serious problem come up later on that everyone sees as a crisis and we're going to react or overreact.
That's right.
Frank Cannone is chair of corporate department at Gibbons P.C, a law firm based right here in Newark. And again, to disclose, they've been very involved in what we do every day and supportive of our efforts to inform and engage the public around these issues. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the Northward Center, New Jersey Sharing Network, the New Jersey Education Association, and by Wells Fargo. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ, and by New Jersey Monthly. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
PSE&G is building New Jersey's clean energy future. We're working to protect our network against extreme weather, expanding and upgrading transmission lines, and modernizing our natural gas system by installing new, more durable underground pipes. At PSE&G, our goal is to make sure you have the safe, reliable energy you need to power your life now and into the future.